Hello, and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for June of 2023. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And I'm Julia Mijas, and I'm in San Francisco, California.
Let's take a look at what's happening in June. Well, Capricorn, Pluto starts the month in Aquarius, and I did mention this last month. Pluto is just dipping his little head into your second house, but he's about ready to leave pretty early in the month. And I said to you last month's horoscope, that this is really just a hint of things that will truly begin next year in January of 2024. However, for the first 11 days of this month, it would be wise to begin looking into your finances in a deeper way and asking yourself how you can transform your money, perhaps your wealth building situation, or perhaps care of your body and your diet slowly and gradually over the next decade. However, on June 11th, Pluto retrogrades back into Capricorn, your sign, and he's been there for a long while, since 2008. It hasn't been fun, and I'm afraid I have to tell you that at the very end of a sign, as well as the very beginning of a sign, this is often when the most dramatic events occur. And Capricorn, as you well know, is a sign that's very serious, very hardworking, very disciplined, very much about structure and the rules. And that you, as a Capricorn yourself, whether that's your sun sign or your rising sign, probably really care about being respected and about having a good reputation and a word of honor and all those kind of things. So Pluto's really been knocking you off of your pedestal in the last decade plus, and it hasn't been fun. Fortunately, it's almost over, but I have to tell you that as Pluto finishes out this year, still traveling through Capricorn, and finishes out his passage of Capricorn, he might be mopping a little roughly in the corners. So word of warning to you, Cap. But soon it'll be over, and then you know what? It's not going to happen again in your lifetime. Isn't that great news? So Saturn is retrograde this month. Saturn goes retrograde in Pisces on the 17th. Saturn is traveling through your third house, and wherever Saturn goes, where is it? There it is. There's the little red Arctic symbol that lets us know that Saturn is retrograde. So Saturn's going to be traveling through Pisces for about 2.5 years, spending time in your third house of communication and really asking you to be more disciplined and more rigorous about your words, and perhaps to take your voice seriously and to ask yourself, is there a big voice? Does your voice come with a message that it wants to deliver to the world? And how can you do the work necessary to discover that voice, bring that message out, and share it in the most clear and articulate way? So if you are a writer, this transit is going to bring you pressure to do the writing, to actually express your voice, and to show up for appointments at your desk with your computer or your pen and notepad or whatever it is you like to use, and to do so very regularly. And Saturn's promise is, if you listen to him and instead of cowering in fear underneath your desk, you show up for those appointments and set yourself goals and a schedule, Saturn's promise is you can succeed in creating a finished work. And I think that's worth the price of admission. So let's go to Juno, and she's right here at the beginning of the month, finishing out your 6th house. In Gemini. and going to be moving on into your 7th house pretty shortly, but not quite yet at the beginning of the month. So Juno's so partnership oriented, so collaborative. She just likes to connect with other people and network and matchmake and help people to get along. And so she's been doing that in your 6th house, which is to say mainly in the workplace. This is a really great transit for you if you manage teams, or if your job is a partnership kind of a job where you work for somebody else for their benefit, perhaps as a consultant, an agent, an advocate, even a therapist, a lawyer, a coach, any kind of one-on-one client-based business. This can be a really great transit for drumming up clients and having just such a strong sense of partnership with them. So Juno quickly moves on into your 7th house right here on the 21st or 22nd, depending on your time zone. And the 7th house being a house of relationships and partnership, Juno is so comfortable here. And if you are already in a partnership, this is a very good transit for it, for you to bring that partnerly sensibility and to bring all of the warmth of the sign Cancer and the emotional connection. So this transit can be lovely for that. Juno will be in your 7th house for about 2 months. And if you're not partnered, this could be a really great transit for finding somebody. So it's a really good time to spend this 2 months, putting yourself out there into your social network and being available to meet people and be seen. That can yield some pretty great results. And yeah, Cancer, June is going to be traveling along through Cancer in your 7th house until mid-August. So plenty of time. So Ceres starts the month in Virgo right there in your 9th house. This has been a lovely transit for reformulating your beliefs about money and values, and particularly the worth that you bring to the world just by being in it. And if you have used this transit, as I have been recommending in your horoscope, to question your beliefs and uncover negative beliefs that you have about feeling worthless or valueless. And if you have instead been working on shifting those beliefs to something more positive, something more affirmative, then this transit may bear fruit, especially when Ceres moves ahead into your 10th house of career. This can be a good transit for going, to your boss and asking for more, or asking, what would it take for me to be paid more? How do I get on that track? And Ceres really is confined to the arena of money. So I don't know that this is going to get you a promotion necessarily, but I do think that bringing that heightened sense of self-worth and being able to enumerate the forms of value that you bring to the workplace is really great ammunition for that conversation with your boss about what could get you onto track for higher pay. And if you're not happy with your workplace, you might even look elsewhere. This isn't like the world's best transit for that. Really, Jupiter is better for that. But, looking about you might not be a bad idea. So Ceres will continue through this house until mid-September, which gives you plenty of time to increase your value in the workplace and potentially even be compensated better for it. Hey, Julia, what do you have to tell the Capricorns of the world about Mercury, Venus, and Mars?
Well, first off, Capricorn, Mercury is moving very quickly this month. It's going to go through 3 different houses. So it's a lot of information I'm about to throw at you. And it's starting in your 5th house. This house rules your children. It rules dating. It rules creativity and fun. So Mercury in the 5th might mean that your mind is on more fun things this month, like if you play computer games, trivia, etc. Mercury in the fifth might also mean that you are thinking a lot more about dating or thinking a lot more about your creative projects too. And if you have children, you might notice that you're communicating a little bit better with them, that the flow of communication is a bit more open. Then by June 11th, Mercury enters your sixth house where it's going to be mid-month. The sixth house and Mercury go hand in hand together. They both can have a lot to do with organization, analysis, those types of things. So with Mercury in the sixth, I always like to say the best use of this transit is to try to get a bit more orderly in your life, whether you need to organize your desk at work or your, Tupperware drawer or whatever it takes. You'll have a good push for that now. And Mercury in the sixth can also mean you're thinking and strategizing and planning a lot for your health. Try to put some order to help support your health during this transit. Maybe that means reaching out to somebody for advice, like a doctor or a practitioner. And then on the 26th, when Mercury enters your seventh house, that's the best time to hire someone for advice because the seventh house does rule contractors. So if you need to hire a counselor, a lawyer, a doctor, anyone who gives you advice, the end of the month is going to be a great time for it because you'll be able to do your best thinking with that person. And on June 30th, when Mercury directly conjoins the sun, it can conjoin the sun two ways, either direct or retrograde. And when it's direct, we call that Greater Epiphany Day. And when it's retrograde, we call it Lesser. But this is a Greater Epiphany Day because it's direct. And that means that you're going to have some insights and revelations into seventh house matters in your life. So that could be into hiring somebody, or maybe a revelation about the work that you are doing with somebody. This house also rules your romantic relationship as well as any business partners you might have. So you might have some insights into your relationship with your partner, or if you're single, maybe you'll have insights into what you want out of your next relationship. Speaking of relationships, I have to mention Venus, the planet of art, beauty, and relationships. She starts the month in the 7th, where she'll be for 5 days. And that actually adds a little bit of harmony, a little bit of diplomacy, a little bit of pleasure and fun to your romantic relationship. Also could be a great time if you're single to get out there and meet someone new. Then by the 5th, Venus enters your 8th house. Mars is going to be in there too. I'll get to him in a bit, but a lot of the month is going to be concentrated on 8th house matters, which are financial matters, especially money you share with other people, like your spouse, like your family, like your business partner, or with institutions, like if you have a mortgage or loans or investments in your life. So Venus in the 8th can bring a little bit of luck financially to you, especially with, 8th house matters. Maybe somebody, your partner earns more money and shares it with you. You could also be drawn to the more dark side of life, but find some pleasure in it, like watching crime dramas or sort of exploring yourself sexually, which I think, especially with Venus and Mars in this 8th house, is nearly a guarantee. And, not just sex for procreation, but, what sex can mean on a deeper, more intimate level. And this is a house of taboo breaking. So, go for it. Venus in the 8th house, a little bit of extra money luck. It can also mean that you psychologically merge more with your partner as well. Maybe you guys have to go a little bit to the dark side together, but become stronger for it. And like I said earlier, Mars is also in this house. Mars is the planet of activity and drive. But Mars can also be a little more challenging than Venus in that he can sometimes bring some conflict and some frustration. So Mars in the 8th house means that you might not always see eye to eye with other people in your life in terms of where shared finances are involved. Maybe you want to invest one way and your partner wants to invest another. Maybe you apply for a loan and it kind of, doesn't quite work out the way you planned. Mars in the 8th house might mean that you're very driven to investigate something in your life. This is a house of just plumbing the depths of any matter. So if you need to investigate something in your work life, in your personal life, just be careful of getting a little too paranoid and overbearing because it's Mars. You can really, really get down to the bottom of something this month. And, maybe find a way to increase your finances as well in a shared way with both Venus and Mars in this house for you this month, Capricorn.
Yes, indeed. Hey, Jamie here. Did you know we run live workshops monthly where you can get questions answered about your own chart? Join us for a live customized reading of your personal chart. This month's topics are success and your Saturn return, transiting nodes and your destiny, and harvesting opportunities during your Jupiter luck year. And these workshops are available exclusively for our beloved Patreon subscribers. You get the Nodes and Destiny workshop with your Tier 2 subscription, and you get all 3 workshops with your Tier 3 subscription. It's easy to sign up at the Patreon link in the description below. Now let's get back to the video. Well, let's begin with the full moon in Sagittarius. I'm going to tell you about the moons, and the full moon in Sagittarius lands in your 12th house. Now, full moons can be times of strong emotion. The moon and the sun are tugging in 2 different directions, like a tug of war. This particular full moon has some harmony involved in it. Mars and Pallas Athena connect with that moon harmoniously, as does Chiron, and that really sweetens the pot. This moon we're calling nerdy adventures because the sun in Gemini plays the role of the nerd who likes to engineer things but isn't very adventuresome, whereas the moon is like the rollicking jock who is adventuresome but also pretty clueless about their impact on other people. And so when these two get together, there can be some really great adventures that happen, but they do have to get into agreement about what they're doing. So it's a very expansive and fun-loving and rollicking moon. But interestingly, Capricorn, in your case, it lands in your 12th house, which is a house of retreat and solitude. So you might find that under this moon, you would like to have some adventures that are more into inner worlds. You might like to, go to a movie or, read a science fiction book or a fantasy novel. It might be about getting online and playing a massively multiplayer game with your merry band of buddies. But whatever form it takes, this moon could really nourish you through the ways that you escape, as long as those are healthy ways. The other moon of this month is happening on June 17th. And you can find out about both of these moons on our website, pandoraastrology.com, in the forecast tab. That's always where you can see videos about the moons of the month and hear more about what they're doing. This moon is a new moon in Gemini, which lands in your 6th house, a very practical house to do with work and service and health and structure and organization. And whenever the new moon happens, it's a time of new beginnings. This one landing in Gemini has to do with the birth of ideas, fresh starts, but it's a very cerebral quality to it. This moon has quite a bit of stress involving a square to Ceres and also Neptune, which are facing off against each other. Ceres, being very practical and grounded, wants to reality test those ideas, while Neptune, being very dreamy and otherworldly, wants you to imagine those ideas taking shape. And so these two balance each other, and it all applies to those new ideas that you might be getting. And those new ideas are probably happening in the realm of organization. So you might be getting new ideas about how your workplace could be better organized, how you could be running your calendar and your task lists and your projects a little bit more effectively, any systems and routines that you could put into place, or how you could be managing your nutrition around the house a little bit better, or other health routines of that kind. So notice that there's a big pile of planets here in Gemini in your 6th house. As the sun travels through Gemini, this 6th house is very, very occupied. And there has been, over the last month and into the coming month, a big migration of planets that were very busily occupying your 5th house and bringing you a strong sense of fun. But this month, that shift happens into the 6th house, where your mind is really more on work, and that's where your attention is too. But as the month comes towards its end and the sun pops over here into the sign of Cancer, you see that all of that Gemini occupation of your 6th house is kind of broken up like a cloud formation and drifting away. And now the energy and the attention is starting to come into your 7th house instead. So starting June 21st and going for about 30 days from there, the sun is traveling through your 7th house, which means that your attention is best put on your relationships, your partnerships. Now that can include a best friend of duration. It certainly can include your spouse, your somebody that you're dating, even your co-parenting partner, or your business partner. And whenever the sun comes into a new house, we want to bring the sunlight of our highest quality attention to that area so that things can flourish and things can grow and expand from that nourishing sunlight. And the 7th house being the house of partnership, putting some good attention on your partner and taking attention off of yourself, and whatever, thoughts you might be having in your own mind or whatever assumptions you might have in the back of your mind, like take your attention off of that stuff and especially off of your judgments and just put it very warmly and sympathetically onto the other people in your life and watch those relationships just blossom in the next 30 days.
Well, that's all we have for you today. If you love Pandora Astrology's free and informative horoscopes, then please do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share our horoscopes with your friends.
You can find out so much more about how this month's transits affect you in very personal timing in our monthly transits workshop for Tier 2 patrons on Patreon. And it's practically free at $15 a month. Find the link in the description below to sign up. Enjoy this beautiful springtime. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.